acknowledge that I'm in a privileged situation in which I don't always need to win.
Okay, very good. Hey, I have a technical question for you. Are you using some kind of software other than the native camera that you're using?
No. Why?
Because I see your focus shifting here, and I didn't know that you could do that.
Yeah, so I'm using my iPhone actually. I thought I might go, very fancy and set up the camera and my
Yeah.
thing, but I ended up going with the iPhone. And if you go inside your settings and you set it up onto portrait mode, it translates
Oh,
live. And so therefore, I don't
that's
know.
what's happening.
Yeah, that's the
Okay. I didn't know you could do that, so I'm going to figure out how to do that next time. Okay. So to answer your question, I think because Tyler was referencing something I might have said earlier, which is in the beginning I wanted to win and I acted as if I wanted to win and then I lost more jobs. And then later on in my life, I don't care about winning so much and I acted that way and I actually won more jobs. So perhaps the outcome is a byproduct of the strategy or the process and not so much the thing that you need to do. So if I am connected in the moment to who I am and being present, really understanding, identifying, connecting with the person that's in front of me, exercising ability to listen, to empathize, and to tune in to my EQ, then I'm going to probably have more positive outcomes. But my former business coach would say this to me all the time. He said, Chris, focus on the process. Don't worry about the results. And this confuses people because isn't life all about the results? Well, here's what I think. I think what I'm trying to focus on every single day in every single way is to make progress. Sometimes the results affirm that and sometimes they go against that. But I just am in love with the process of improving and I want to make progress.
hmm Yeah. So if I can add to that is whenever I coach people's sales, I always tell them, and exactly today I was working with a psychologist and, she was like, well, like I have this many sales, I want to get this many sales. And I just asked her, like, what is the action that will take you to the result? And that is what I want you to focus on. So whenever people come to me and they're like, I want to get this many clients. Okay, first of all, we're going to find the motivation behind wanting this many clients. And then we're going to focus on like, what is the action that you need to take? And if I have calculated that I need to have this many conversations, I need to get on this many calls, and I do all of those, and I do not get the results, then we perhaps miscalculated. But I did all the action. I did everything that is within my hands. I did my best to get to the position of getting those results. And then at the end, if I got them or not, it is merely a miscalculation and perhaps I need to try and do better next time. Okay?
Very good. Yep.
Yeah. So I just think that is much better approach because then we are focusing on what actually we can control. And I encourage it in business and in everything. Like results are brilliant, but actually going ahead and doing the action and then looking at the results, people tend to go very hard on me because I tend to be like, I do the work, I don't even look at the results that often. Like, because I am so detached from the end thing, because for me, the end thing is in like quite a few years. So for me, like, I'm just going to do the work every day. I'm going to do the best I can every day. And then the results, they will eventually come. Like, it's inevitable.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Chris, I suggest we have a lot of questions. I suggest let's take a look at the question box.
Okay, let's do it.
What is going on?
All right.
Okay, so let's start with this. Can we define salesy? It's pretty funny because I always
That's a
start
good question.
and I say salesy is not even in the dictionary. Chris, I searched it. I opened the dictionary even this morning and I searched salesy and I could not find it. So therefore, is salesy actually a thing? And how can you define it?
Okay. I'm glad that you did that homework. And now you're putting me on the spot, right? So what we do is we say one who behaves like a salesperson.
Okay.
Then you're being salesy. And then we say, well, what does a salesperson behave like? And then it usually conjures up pretty negative images in our mind because we've all had experiences with really bad sales being done, perpetrated on us. I'll give you one example. When telemarketers would get you on the phone and they wouldn't let you get off the phone, they kept asking you more and more invasive questions and you're really annoyed and they just don't care. They keep pushing forward. That is a salesperson being very salesy. When you walk into a department store, when you just need to be left alone so that you can shop in peace and at your own pace, and someone keeps hounding you, like, can I help you? Do you need something? It's like that is another salesperson. But the two classic salesy kind of personalities are the car salesperson or the timeshare person. So let's talk about those two types of people. I've experienced this before. So a used car salesperson or a new car salesperson who's super aggressive, who wants you to say yes at the highest possible price, feels wrong. It feels like they don't care about me. They're just trying to hit a quota. And I've had bad experiences. Therefore, I no longer buy cars this way. I buy them all online because it is such a distasteful thing for me that I will do anything I can to avoid that. The last one is the timeshare person, which they invite you to a breakfast free, and then they pitch you hard the entire time, and they don't let go of you.
Oh.
It's super, like you could feel stress coming out of your pores. Like, no, I just want to walk away. Just let me go right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they're using all these psychological hooks and forms of manipulation to keep you there.
Horrible. No, I even felt slightly uncomfortable for some of us having that reputation. Thanks to those people. It's really interesting because this is what I call pre-established limiting beliefs. And I believe on every call, every person has those. Whether it's for good or whether it's for bad. It tends to be for bad because that's why they're limiting. And I have experienced it oftentimes. The other day I got on a call and I was training a new sales team member. And the moment, they had the discovery call and they jumped in and they introduced me as the sales coach. And I could just see that the change in the face of the prospect just immediately changed the moment they introduced me. We were having such a phenomenal rapport. The more they said he's a sales coach, it completely changed. And it's funny, throughout the conversation, everything that I was saying, and I was asking, is everything clear so far? Everything that they said was, well, you're just selling, you're doing your job. And they were not doing, I'm doing my job. You're just selling to me, you're doing your job, right? And therefore, I think salesy comes with many bad denominations. And this is why it is essential that whenever you start a conversation, that you also acknowledge that you're more there to help them make the decision and not actually to sell to them. Because making that mindset shift already positions you in a position of advantage, I would say.
So I have a question for you, Alec. When you could see that there's a visible reaction, a negative emotion when you were introduced as a sales coach, and people would say to you, "You're just doing your job." How do you respond to that?
Yeah, so my answer in that specific moment, and I'm not sure if I changed or not, frankly, it has not happened very often. So I was taken a little bit by, I could just see that I kind of lost her from the very beginning, whenever that was the introduction. So my intention, first of all, to answer your question, my answer was absolutely, I am trying to help you understand how the process works and what are the main benefits for you. All right, so this was my answer, but then I immediately actually went ahead and typed in the chat and said to my colleague, and I'll say, hey, can you take over? And I said that because I could see that, Chris, I was not in a position to change that limiting belief so quickly. I was already labeled, and in their mind, I was the sales guy. So as the sales guy, I was never going to escape that zone. It's almost the same as getting friend zoned, but you get sales zoned. So it was impossible for me. So I said to my colleague, hey, can you take over from now on? That's
Yeah.
what.
Hmm. Very interesting. I'd like to take a stab at how to respond to something like that. Okay. I'm not a sales coach, so it's a little easy for me to respond to because I have no emotional attachment to that label. So somebody says, "Oh, Chris is a sales coach," and you could see like, "Oh," and they say like, I don't like sales coaches." I'm like, I would start with empathy. I would say, Mary, let's just use Mary as her name. I said, Mary, I see that, and this is labeling, I see that you're uncomfortable with the word sales and there may be some negative emotions around this. Is this right? And then Mary would say, yes, right? Now I said, Mary, what has been your experience with salespeople in the past? Can you relate a couple of emotions or stories? And then Mary would then say, so I want to make sure Mary feels seen and heard. And I said that sad to say, many of us had experiences like that, myself included. I want to assure you I'm nothing like that. And I want to work towards earning your trust and to maybe for you to have a different relationship with sales because I was invited by X to help you all get more business. And if that's important, I believe I can help you. And so what I generally like to do is I like to meet the objection head on, to acknowledge it, to label it, and to embrace it, and to say this will be radically different. I don't want to perpetrate that on you either. And nor would I be an advocate for those experiences to continue. We should just probably describe those experiences for what they are, which is humans behaving poorly that are self-interested and selfish. I would not ask anybody here to do anything like that.
I love that, Chris. I think I learned something new uh, right now because I I didn't pay attention, frankly, to that happening again. So for me, it was like, hey, this shouldn't happen. So we can just prevent it by not labeling myself as a sales coach, which, by the way, I don't necessarily like to call myself, the sales coach and X, Y, and Z. Uh, because of everything else that, all of the connotations, but I thought that was a phenomenal approach uh, by you. That was thank you for that.
Yeah. And I think that could be applied to many different things. Like you said,
Yeah,
sometimes you're going to get put in a friend zone. I would not accept that. I would not accept that at all. I'm a happily married guy. I've been married for over 20 years. But if I were single and somebody put me in a friend zone, I'm like, oh, it's a problem for me to kind of think through and solve. I may not be interested in that person, but I'm become very curious as to how or what they're attracted to and why they put people in a certain category.
yeah, yeah. No, I love that. I love that, and that is the exact approach that should be applied to other limiting beliefs and to whatever they have already as pre-established for them to believe. Because everything, comes down to the experiences that we have had in the past. But just because we have had that experience in the past, it doesn't mean that it's the real experience. I tend to get that with the objection of, I have tried to, solve this problem with this many coaches and no one was able to do it. And I always say, hey, like if you were to go to this Italian restaurant on X Street and you didn't like the food, would you naturally come out and assume that all of the restaurants on that street cook the exact same bad food? Like, no. I was like, then, the same applies here, right? It's really hard for you to apply the norm of one thing applies to all. And then this way you can kind of go around the objection. Yeah. Okay. How does a creative, and this is a great question for you, Chris. How does a creative sell his services without being salesy?
Okay. I need some context for this because it depends on where you are in the sales process and whether or not we need to make some assumptions. So, Alex, set up some framework or a scenario so that I can then answer that question.
Okay, so let's set it up from my own. A couple of years ago, Chris, I didn't understand, and sometimes I still don't. I have to be honest. I don't understand that logos are that important. Okay, so in my view, we're on a conversation, and I have a certain budget for me to get a new logo because I don't know. I just like having a certain visual. But frankly, I don't think it's a priority, and I'm not even sure that logos help you get more sales or get more visibility. You know,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
So in a scenario like this, you're playing the client, I'll be the designer selling services, right? So we're entering into role play. I just want to make sure everybody
Yeah,
understands what's going on.
we
Okay.
absolutely are. Yeah.
Yeah. So Alec, if logos aren't important to you, why even pursue it? Why not just stay with the logo you already have today?
Well, you see, Chris, it's a little bit outdated. I
Mm,
think that I need something new.
okay. And if you get something new that's cheap, would that make you happy?
If I like it, yes.
Okay, so there's a criteria if you like it. Now, we both know that there are plenty of services online that don't cost a lot of money that you can hire kids for $5. Is that something that you would like to explore and spend your time doing?
Well, not necessarily because I don't necessarily trust kids.
Okay, I shouldn't have labeled them as kids. Some of them are older. Some of them are full-grown men or women. I mean, do you think that a possible solution for you to update your logo so it's no longer outdated, something that you like, is to go to a marketplace and shop around and try and find one or many people to try showing you something? Is that your preferred process?
It is part of the process. I would definitely be willing to explore more options.
Okay, so I'm just here to let you know this is not what we do. I also imagine that you'll pay us quite a bit more than anybody else that you're going to talk to. And we're not in the business of showing you lots of different things, but giving you something very tailored for what it is that you want. But I'm
Um,
not sure it's something that you would want to pay for or not. So I'm trying to ascertain with you if this is a worthwhile endeavor for you to pursue.
well, I don't understand if I really need a logo.
Yeah, well, most people who ask for a logo don't necessarily need it, and I don't recommend them do that. However, some companies really care about the image that they put out there, and they're going to be applying the logo to many different surfaces, from websites to bags and caps, and so then it matters a little bit more to them. I find that people who are very conscientious of personal style and taste want to have a really nice logo and are willing to pay for it. Are you that type of person?
I care about my image.
Do you care enough to pay for something that's well done, or would you rather have something that's done?
No, I would like something of good quality.
Okay. So is this something you would like to continue exploring with us, knowing that it's going to be probably a lot more than you had probably budgeted in your mind?
Absolutely, if you believe it's going to bring me the benefit that I expect. Because Chris, I want this logo because I need something that represents my current image of my brand. So is this something that will help me be in that position?
Absolutely. What other benefits are you looking for?
I'm looking to be easily recognizable on the market as an industry leader.
Okay. Anything else?
I would love if people can relate certain image, a certain moment of joy to the logo. That's about it, Chris.
Okay. That's wonderful. So based on what you told me, it sounds like you're actually a prime candidate for us to help. You mentioned things about image, about joy, communication, about it being easily recognizable. You didn't say this, but also tastefully done. And that sounds like you need someone to do a tailored job for you. And
Mm.
based on that, we charge X to do that. Is that something you would be interested in exploring?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Then that's the end of the role play, but
Yeah.
that's how we would do it. Now, let's check in with both of us, right? Did you feel that it was a salesy process? Did it feel like a salesperson to you?
No, no, no. It felt like you were helping me reach a decision. Because frankly, I would still be, by the way, in the position of trying to understand what the logo does for me, right? If this was a longer conversation, I would ask you straight away, like, hey, like, but realistically, like, what would the logo do for me?
Right.
Because I felt like I was trying to explain that to myself, which is not necessarily bad, right? This is exactly what you want to try to achieve, is help the other person to actually find and give themselves a decision. But I would probably just ask you like, hey, and Chris, like, why do you think I need it? Because you're the expert.
Well, yeah, I could answer that question. And depending on how long, I realize we're at 12 o'clock. I have to leave pretty soon here.
Yeah.
I would ask you a series of short questions, which is, I don't know. And to be honest, I just don't know how important image matters to you, how many different applications you need to apply this to. For example, if your business is booming and you have a really ugly, outdated logo, sometimes changing the logo will actually hurt your business, right?
Oh,
It could hurt your business because you're going to lose that familiarity. And if you're committed to a long-term campaign of educating people what the new company stands for, if you're going through some changes or if your business model fundamentally has changed, a great signal to other people is to change and update your identity system. This happens all the time, right? So if you're growing, if you're expanding, if you're no longer doing X business and you're moving into Y business, then you probably want to signal to people this is going to change. And if this is something that you see yourself living with 3, 5, 10 years from now and not wanting to change it, it's actually a fairly modest investment amortized across that period of time.
yeah. I love that. I love that. Chris, do we have the time for just one more question?
One,
Because
one more and I have to run.
an incredible one. So, where do you draw the line between sales tactic and manipulation? Asks Sun.
Great question.
Incredible.
Okay. If we think of the word manipulation, is that positive or negative to you, Alec?
It is negative. It has negative connotations.
Yes. Are there instances where the word manipulation has positive connotations? Can you think of any?
Yes,
Where?
because manipulation tends to be conviction. Okay, you tend to convince someone through using a variety of strategies that they need to do something else, but it tends to be for your own benefit. So if it was used for positive, it would probably be called persuasion.
Possibly, possibly, but I just want to stick to the word manipulation. Have you ever hurt your body from athletics or woken up funny? Because you're still too young to have that. I've had problems. So I go to a chiropractor who then manipulates my body so that I get some relief from pain. I've struggled with playing tennis, so my wife got me a one-on-one session with a tennis coach, and he's manipulating my swing for golf or for tennis. And so those are positive things. So
Okay.
the word manipulation itself is not necessarily good or bad. It's the context in which it's used. So
Okay.
if it's used for good, you say it would be called persuasion. I would dare even say it's coaching because I want to get a positive result from working with someone, paying for a service, or buying a product. I want a positive result. And so if I'm able to help you get that positive result, whether it's coaching or sales, I don't find a problem with it being perceived as being manipulative because I think it's a positive manipulation.
Okay. I love that. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so it's just another part of the whole thing. Listen, Chris, this has been wonderful. I just want to take this time to two things, and it's thanks to everyone who showed up. Thanks to everyone who decided to get us some badges. What I'm going to do with those badges is I am going to see Chris speak in Barcelona, April. Okay, he's doing an Euro tour, and what I'm going to do with those badges is get Chris a drink. Okay, and we're probably both gonna get a drink, and we're gonna probably mention you and say, "Hey, this is thanks to you all, guys." So thank you for that. And just an encouragement for everyone to also check that tour because I would genuinely love to connect with all of you, and I think it's going to be fantastic. And to everyone who joins us, thanks to this live, they can tell us, and I'm going to personally buy one for you too, right there live. So everyone who joins us on that tour, you're going to get a free drink.
Wonderful. I love hearing that. I would love to see all of you. I'm visiting 9 cities in Europe. It's like the first time we're producing an event at this scale. It can only happen if enough people buy tickets. Otherwise, we will cancel that city and focus in on it. Right now,